All right, everybody. Welcome to the most serious Dungeons and Dragons podcast ever, where we don't laugh, we don't giggle, we don't swear. And we're talking
Hey,
about
hey.
giants this week.
We're talking about Jesus.
That
Jesus
too.
was a giant. I heard he was like 12 feet tall, and then he got that
Yeah,
rock thrown at his head. Oh no, that's the other guy.
he was playing b-ball outside
Outside of
school
the
when a couple of guys were up to no good.
the 12-foot Jesus doing a full cover of that song. That's a good idea.
That's how I became Prince of the Jews.
There's a spinning golden throne in heaven.
he's fucking, he's fucking like dribbling basketballs. Dude, Jesus, he kind of kicks some ass.
I'd be friends with him.
Oh,
Anyways,
yeah. All right, did
What
we
a
get it on
start.
our system?
Well, how tall does a giant have to be to like physically get into heaven?
He's got to at least be, I'd say, a good tall enough to grab a cloud and just like do a good old muscle up onto it. If you can't do a muscle up, that doesn't qualify you into ordning, and you just have to rot.
To go to the bottom of the ocean if you can't do a pull up.
there's a point where I think about like because all giants are huge, which is also funny. Like thinking about like the little seeing the stat block, and it's like they're a huge giant. It's like all right,
They're not giant.
The human-
and fucking it's a thing where a lot of giants vary in size, so it does become a point where it's like I know there's specifics to it, but I do
Yeah.
always question like how big is it when you start getting huge? Because it's not like
Yeah.
huge is technically I guess like that in that 15 by 15 square. So is it like when you start breaching that?
off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure like the shortest giant's like a hill at 16, and like
Oh,
the
really?
tallest being
Yeah.
like Storm at 22 to 20 foot tall.
Yeah,
I
good
think
26. Yeah, storms get up there.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
I think it's like the higher in the ordning you are, it's like another 2 feet by it.
That is interesting. Is there? I wonder if there's any reason for that, or if the ordning came from like, well, let's all line up, and whoever's the biggest is the best.
There's a fun thing with that. So frost giants are taller than fire giants, but they're below them in the ordning.
Yeah, because
Really?
fire giants are short kings by giant standards.
So
Yeah.
the reason behind that, they have like a lore thing. I forget all of the names of like the giant like pantheon kind of thing, but the idea would be like the Allfather ended up favoring the fire giant brother because it was this thing of like when they were trying to like measure up and try to like compete for their father's attention. The fire giant was like, "Here, Papa, I could make you these sweet, epic weapons." And like the frost giants have an issue where they can't really handle heat that is like hotter than like their own meals. Like a fresh kill is like really hot to them already. So it's a
Huh.
thing of they can't do metalworking because they can't handle the heat of a forge. So it's because of that disability that they were like knocked down a peg where it's like even though they're taller than the fire giants, it's like, yeah, you might be taller than your brother, but your brother could make things and you suck. So I think he's better than you.
Okay, counterpoint. What if the fire giant made a pair of stilts?
Why don't they? Why don't fire giants just have like high heels that gives them that extra like
That is
2
true.
feet, 4 feet?
That makes sense, honestly. And like fire giants
They
are
look
kind of up their
cool.
own ass too. Like I mean, a lot of the giants are, but fire giants are like especially like.
Yeah, they're
I
they're like the lawful evil ones, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're like,
You know, like
They're the-
so by the D&D standard, it's supposed to be they're basically very militaristic and, as you said, up their own.
yeah,
There were they-
it's very. They're like because they are also like they'll have they're slavers and stuff, and they'll have like
I can't
all
believe
this
it.
yeah
mean,
that
You get giant materials constantly. You need to have like 50 dwarves just doing whatever you tell them.
Yeah.
yeah basically, and
They do it
they're kind of like because the main thing with fire giants is they think like, well, we do the cool stuff of like making the weapons and stuff, like that's the super important stuff. Anything else, that's beneath us.
Yeah.
So you guys make our food, make our clothes, like it's like this fucking
They're
this
just
thing
like
of like,
super wealthy artists who are like, I'm
yes.
just going to be my art. Everything else I pay for. Which
Okay.
makes sense.
Pretty
Which
much.
that's kind of how stone giants are, since that's stone giants' main thing is stone crafting and art.
Yeah.
Just stone giants are
Stone giants are
the chill
nicer,
ones.
like at the very least. Stone giants are
Yeah. Generally, they like kind of keep to themselves. I think they're super territorial to the point where like if you show up, they're like, "Go away. We will throw rocks at you. Just go away. Don't come here." Which is why I love the concept of stone giant dreamwalkers. I don't know if you guys know about that,
Oh
but
yeah, they're so weird.
Yeah.
I
yes,
like them.
they start to like meld things together into like because it's
No.
also it's
Well,
the thing of go ahead.
they live in a world with no sky, and maybe they dream about a sky, but when they like accidentally, intentionally, as part of the ordning, just for whatever reason, they end up in the overworld, they don't think their consequences have actions.
Yeah.
They just kind of stop. Like they sort of drop everything, possibly even the ordning, and they're just like, "I'm just gonna see what the heck this fake world is," and start flinging cows and stuff for fun. Like,
Yeah, and like
cool.
there's a point because there's a specific stat block for like the Dreamwalker, and it's like the idea of, oh, sometimes stone giants, like if they have to go up top to do something, they will enlist a guide, and that will be like a Dreamwalker, and they will basically have this person who has been up here living a long time and understands the world above more, but they still there's like I like this idea of belief sometimes in D&D, where it's like this thing of they are so stuck in the mindset that this is a dream that it is literally there is a radius around them where the world is affected and things like start fucking up around them, like things start getting altered, and it's like this thing of like the art shows the Dreamwalker having like things fused into them and stuff, and it's just out of like them picking up trinkets and like just shoving it onto themselves and like them melding with it.
Oh yeah. The really crazy thing to me is that through that power to belief, they actually have a stone touch to petrify people, whether intentional
Yeah,
or
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's really
here we go.
crazy because
You're looking at it right now. It's fucking.
Yeah,
It's
petrifying
cool.
touch.
yeah, that's
Forsaken
beyond
Fold.
what most giant magic even kind of covers. Because I mean, like, magic-wise, giants are pretty low magic unless you count like
Well,
storm giant, and that's about it.
because the issue is like giants are actually pretty like lore wise they're supposed to be really magical. You just don't have a lot of like stat block stuff. Like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
cloud
like they can
giant.
make magic items, and all their
Yeah,
carvings like naturally glow. Their runes have a power that no other giant has.
yeah. Like it's like the rune fighter for the rune knight fighter. Like it's
Oh
like
yeah.
the whole idea of like, oh, they use like giant runes as part of their whole
Oh,
like class.
cool.
And the
Yeah.
whole because there's a because even cloud giants I think are supposed to be like one of the more like magically inclined of the giants, and that's why they literally live in the clouds. They fucking make cloud
Yeah.
palaces that they live up in the air.
Yeah.
And
Until beanstalks reach them, and then little people run up there
yeah.
and chop their heads off.
Stop
That's
that.
the
Oh.
there's like thinking on cloud giants. I think I mentioned this before, but I like the idea of I like stumbled across like a stat block of like a fog giant, and I was thinking, oh, what is that? And it's
Oh.
just like, oh, it's just cloud giants that don't live in the clouds anymore. They're just like these bumpkins
Oh,
that are in the ground.
yeah.
That's fine.
Be right back. I have a dog freaking out and an empty glass, and
Okay.
also the AC is
Yeah, no
not
worries.
on. Give me 2 seconds. I'm sorry. I'm ruining your whole podcast. Shoot
How
me when
dare
you
you.
meet.
No.
Fucking bad.
No. No. Okay. All right.
No!
No. All right, Mario, we got to get all of our hate about Logan out of the way real quick.
I hate him. I hate him. I hate him because he's a giant. He's
He is the resident giant of the group. I need to.
yeah. But like, I guess not to go too far off into stuff while Logan's gone, but like staying on the giant topic. I think I something that I think is fun with giants is I used to think they were boring because in the end it's just like they're just big guys. But learning more about like the ordning and the lore and like the things attached to them, I start to like think, oh wow, these guys are actually kind of there's like cool lore things tied to them. There's a lot of rich lore to dig out of.
Yeah. They're very fancy big boys.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was welcome
Sorry,
back.
I took a little dream walk there. I'm back.
Oh, you
oh
bastard.
man, he's grafted with the dog now.
No longer a part of the ordning.
Logan the grafted.
Even though I am
I've been playing
12 feet tall.
I've been playing with the idea of I've had Fomorians in my D&D game.
Ah,
And,
Oh, those are fun.
the idea that I had was like, oh, Fomorians. I tied in like some Forgotten Realm lore stuff and just changed it around a little. But like, there's this idea of in the Forgotten Realms there was a giant and dragon war like a long time ago, and it was this thing of like, oh, in my setting, something like that happened. Um, the giants won, but it left them all fucked up, and it was like this thing of there was this point where I had like the Fomorians, because the Fomorians are supposed to be like these cursed giants, where it's like, oh,
yeah, really quick, because they're like cursed by a Fey king or a Fey prince or something. What type of giant did they used to be? Was it a whole different sect? Because it said they were like
They were just
super
the Fomorians.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
I think
assumed
they were just like
Fey giants.
Fomorians. And like,
So Fomorian was just the name for that type of giant?
yeah, they were like a whole other sect of giants, and it's like
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware, I might be talking out of my ass, but
Yeah,
the idea would they would have been like, well, yeah, go ahead.
Because since their creature type is Fey, that means they have to be some kind of different kind of giant, like a Feyborn.
Are
giant.
they Fey? I thought
Yeah.
they were.
They are Fey cursed, so they're like forever touched by the Feywild, kind of like how elves should be Fey. They are giant kin, the most hideous and wicked of all the giant races. Even though they don't look like anything, they just have a big evil eye.
They're technically like I'm looking at the monster manual stat block for them. They're a huge giant, so they're still giants.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
the
used
giants?
to be like
I could've swore they were
the
Fey.
elves of giants.
The thing
might
is,
be, like,
they're
half
like
Fey.
banished. They were banished into like the under Fey, or like the basically like they're. I think the lore idea is like they're banished to the Fey realm, but the Fey realm of the Underdark, which is like a fucking
I think it's just the Unseelie,
Okay.
which is just
Yeah,
like
it's-
the evil
it's like-
place. So they're not necessarily underground, though they usually go into like fairy tale caves and stuff.
Thanks.
yeah.
I
And
kind
they're
of imagined
like-
them as my idea is like just be more fairy tale giants, but
Hmm.
that's kind of cloud and hill giants as it is. But I just like that idea of them like they're just being beautiful giants on the Feywild that are just overall chill but very arrogant.
Yeah. No, Mario was right. There is a place called the Feydark, which I have never heard of.
Which is like a whole that's also I like that idea, but it's also like a thing where it starts to get convoluted. Like it's just like there's so many different kind of like I do kind of like that idea of just like oh well, this is the mirror of the Underdark, where it's like
It's all an echo.
yeah. But it's like what I ended up doing for it in my setting was just the idea of like, okay, Fomorians were probably like a higher up kind of group in the ordning. Like I decided, oh, they were like underneath, they were above cloud giants, so they're like right below storm giants, and they're like supposed to be like, oh, they're super cool and shit. They wanted to be above storm giants, so in the idea that I had for my setting was just like, oh, they sided with the dragons. Dragons lose, and then it's just like, well, the giants are like, what the fuck do we do with you? So they end up like cursing them and like throwing them into the Shadowfell was my idea.
Oh.
And it was like this thing of they.
No, I'm sorry. I just Googled Fomorian, and first thing came up Fomorian dog, and I clicked on it just to see it would come up, and a Pomeranian came up.
Knew it.
I'm sorry.
Well, there's something like in a way there's something fun with that because I want to play with the idea of Fomorians in the sense of I feel like because it's kind of brought up one of the biggest downsides of Fomorians is that like since they're super fucked, they do not really have like if you look at them, even though they're a giant, they don't have rock throw anymore, and that's because their body's all like fucked, so they can't like do that ancient giant custom of like throwing rocks. So it's
They
this
can't
thing
play
of
any reindeer games.
yeah, exactly, and it's like I like the idea of sometimes having like a, because they're all supposed to be super warped and like weird. So I like the idea of just like, oh, you probably have ones that have like one like little T-Rex arm and one super long arm, and they're like running around like on all fours or some shit, or on all threes.
Yeah.
Um, they're like all like they're gangly and creepy, but I just like the I think they're cool. I think they have like cool stuff, and it kind of shows you that weird like giant and magic-y stuff of like their evil eye kind of things and stuff like that. Like they it like these guys they're like a shadow of what they used to be, and they still have some of those like weird fucking like giant magic stuff going on with them. So those are definitely like a fun little thing to throw in. I love them.
They're freaking good.
I love giants. I love giants.
Hello, guys. All right.
Uh,
So, I guess that being said, an interesting segue I wanted to go on is, what's your favorite kind of giant?
Ooh,
Frost.
Frost. I love the top. I think storm giants are so interesting because they're deeply in tune with the world, but at the same time completely disconnected. Like all their powers can basically warp reality and command whatever they want, but they are just sitting there doing nothing, waiting for a sign to use their powers. They have no reason to, no incentive. They live forever. And yeah, I just think they're definitely the most interesting part of the ordning.
For
Honestly,
me,
that was
well,
that was going to be my answer as well. But definitely a second for me be fire. I just think that idea
yeah.
of just the giant metal empires you could build out of them, I think is a really cool idea.
Yeah.
Just that's a hard idea of just like this giant evil being making their home base in a hollowed out volcano that they're using as a forge. That's just a cool concept.
So I have distant plans, seeing like how the next D&D game releases and how it's received for Stibble's Codex, like a mount book. And one of the mounts that I had was the idea where there's kind of like a mobile forge with a fire giant on it who has chained himself to it. So it's just this tank that roves through the mountains, and he'll trade anything for metal. And you can like hitch a ride and hang out with him, and he's just like going and tinkering as this thing is trucking along. I thought that was a really cool idea.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I
that's
like that.
cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I say Frost. I do really like Stone Giants. They're like a close follow-up for me on like favorites.
Yeah, you know what? They're great.
Yeah.
Because Stone Giants have a lot of like. I think what I like about Stone Giants is if you meet them underground, they tend to be like some of the nicest giants. They tend to be like it's a thing of.
It's not on
they're
site for them.
It's not necessarily on site. Like it's like a thing of like. If they don't want you there, they will warn you. It's like the thing of, oh yeah, sometimes you'll get a rock thrown at you, but they're really good at rock throwing. So it's like a thing of, you'll get like a warning rock throw. If it misses you, that's on purpose. So it's a thing.
I love those details.
And it's a thing of just like it's like you'll get a rock thrown at you, and it's like, okay, they don't want us here. Let's get out. So it's a thing with them of they are big practitioners of the arts. Like they love like craftsmanship and stuff like that. So there's a thing where they will like look at somebody who's like super small, and they'll like see you like crafting your own stuff, and they're like, oh, you're like a little me. You're so I think that the term for good in giant is Maat or something like that. There's Maat and Mog.
Yeah, man. I used to know so much giant stuff. I was not prepared for this video.
Oh no, you're good. I'm kind of like
I love
in the
Mott and Mog.
same. Yeah, because I'm trying to look it up now.
Ain't
but,
that one of the new
there's the
like Gen Z terms, Mog?
If you can't grok
Mog
that
mixing.
something's Mott or that you're a pleb.
Yeah. What do you feel? That's Mog or Riz?
I feel like Riz is pretty. It's pretty Mott, right?
Pretty Mog.
I think Mog is the bad term and Mott is the positive.
Mott means good.
Okay, I was right. Let's go.
Yeah.
But so it's like a thing of they'll see those like I feel like for stone giants, they'll see dwarves working and like they'll look at that and they're like, oh, those guys are pretty Maat. That's because Maat. The reason
That means
Maat
base.
yeah, it's like basically they're like that's pretty base, but it's
Yeah,
like
that's not.
to them the reason something is good or bad is because it means it is on the scale of is that giant like? If that's giant like, then that's good, and that's like the thing of because it's like the thing where
I love that scale of like based and cringe is exactly the same thing.
yeah, it's like you align with me. That's awesome. So because it's like to
Sorry,
the
bro, you're
scale-
acting a little mog right now.
you're
Little
being
mog
kind of
boy.
mog.
Can you be a little more mog?
dude, the fact that you did what you did last night was kind of mog. I'm gonna be
Oh,
honest.
that would hurt. That would
Poor
hurt.
mog boy.
Because it's the same thing where there might be some giants that conflict with their ideals, and in that same term, it's a thing where it's like, for example, fire giants are assholes and they'll like do really awful shit, and like frost giants
Yeah.
can be the same. Like something that frost giants consider very Mott is beating animals because it's showing dominance over them and
Oh.
like making them subservient. So it's
Yeah.
this thing of like, oh, this is a Mott action. So if a frost giant saw you like just beating up like some wild animal
Yeah.
and like making it like serve you, it's like, oh, that's pretty Mott. You're pretty cool, dude. But it's like the
Yeah.
thing of like, if you did
That's
that in
why-
front of a yeah.
Every once in a while, you'll see Goliath just hanging out with frost giants because they're like, nah, he's Mott, he's good, like he's
Yeah,
fucking
Yeah,
Mott.
he's cool. He's
Yeah.
homie. He's with
He's
us.
good. He's cool.
He's kind of big. He's kind of bigger than the rest of you guys, and I respect it.
They beat the crap out of, I think it's Remerhazes.
Remorazes.
Remorazes, yeah.
Yeah. They'll raid
Which
like Rimrat's nest for their eggs and raise them as their own little.
Which is
horse.
also a
It's-
big
it's like-
flex because they do like
Yeah.
fiery kind of bullshit, and that they're vulnerable to that. So it's like
Them and white dragons.
white dragons.
There's like that little trichotomy of them, and it's kind of like when the Fire Nation used to hunt down to extinction the dragons. Like that's
Yeah.
what they do with Remerhaz.
Because it's like
Okay.
frost giants fucking hate like they hate dragons in general, but they especially hate white dragons because that's their
They
turf.
share the
So
region.
it's like
Yeah.
it's a thing of like that's a thing that I kind of like about frost giants is they're very dude broy, and they really want to like big dick on each other,
Mhm.
like to the point where it's like I
Just
think
like a
they straight
roving
up
band
have-
of frat bros in the
yeah, because
ocean of
frost
shit.
giants. There's something sad. This is the reason why I really like frost giants too. Is there's something really sad to them in the sense of, again, their position in the ordering. They're
I
above
lift to
stone
hide the
giants.
pain.
Yeah, yeah, they're above stone giants, and they're constantly trying to like show that they're worth something, and it's just out of like it's a funny thing where the best comparison I can think of is like thinking about like 40k stuff. It's like these are like their deities are basically their primarchs because they're like the dudes that represent their whole society kind of thing, or their whole like group. So it's like the frost giants have a specific frost giant guy, and they're all like brothers to the Allfather, who is like the ultimate like everything god. And
I think.
yeah, Annam the Allfather, and it's like so you have the only one that I can remember is like Scarius Stonebones, which is the stone giant.
Oh yeah.
And but like it's like the frost giant guy, he got knocked down a peg because he can't really do anything besides be tough and strong. So it's like a thing of his dad basically looked at him and he's like, dude, I mean, yeah, you're better than a hill giant, and I guess you're better than a stone giant because you're taller than them, but like besides that,
You're a one-trick
kinda
pony,
suck.
dude. That's kind of mog.
yeah, it's
Kind of
like,
mog.
because like
But God,
the-
you
I think
slapped
the
the
most-
crap out of that horse earlier. Good stuff, man.
and it sucks because it's like the position that they're in, they have to live in cold places, so it's like all of their stuff that they have, they can't make their own things. They don't know how to make their own things because it's tough for them, so they have to resort to stealing. They have to resort to like taking things. It's like a thing of like, yeah, frost giants will raid places because they can't really make anything. Like they can't do anything, so
That's a fun dilemma. I like that.
Yeah.
Where Like the most successful frost giant is kind of a piece of shit just because he's stolen he stole a rocket launcher and now he's the best guy there is.
It's like if they
What
have
the heck,
like
man?
helmets and shit, all of that's gonna be like clashed together. It's like, yeah, I found a bunch of little guys' armors, or like maybe potentially a fire giant they have like contact with. They're like, hey, could we please like have armors and weapons and stuff? And they're like, okay, if you take care of like a job for me, like if you go and like fight some dude that's in an area or something, or if you like, it's like a thing of like, oh, I want materials and there's a fucking frost giant there and I hate the cold. So if you guys go over there, or no, not frost giant. There's a white dragon there. If you guys, I hate the cold. So it's like if you guys go over there, take their loot and stuff, maybe I'll give you some weapons and some armor. And it's like a thing of like that is the only time they'll fucking get something that's made for them, because any other time they have to resort to like making a club out of trees or some shit, or like they'll have like just mashed together skins of animals that they've had to get, and nothing fits them because they're so big.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that kind of tracks that pretty much all giants are nearly naked except fire giants.
Well, it's like when you start getting up there, a lot of them will have, because it's a thing of fire giants are the crafters, and like stone giants also make stuff too. But it's like a thing
Not
of
for themselves. It's like external pieces of art.
Yeah, so it's like a thing of like stone giants might have pelts and stuff, but like once you start getting into like fire giant territory and above, it starts to become a thing where it's like you'll see cloud giants, they'll have extravagant kind of clothing because they'll have like that, they tend to be very wealthy, they tend to like flaunting stuff. They'll go out and like either force people to work for them, or they'll hire people where it's like, oh, I hear that you make the most extravagant kind of clothing, you have to make a dress or something for my size and I will pay you like and even then like cloud giants love flaunting wealth, so it's a thing of like they will go out of their way of like, oh, if they found like a tiny little human that does like the best fucking clothing,
they'll steal them. They'll abduct them.
They'll like steal them, or they might just pay him, because that would also be a big flex, because then they would go to other cloud giants. They're like, yeah, I paid like a fucking like a ridiculous amount of gold for this, and yeah, I could just do that, and that's like because I just have a lot of money on me, and that's just
they're
how I roll.
God damn it, they're clout giants.
Yes, they're big clout giants. Like they would definitely
wear Supreme.
Oh.
Yeah, you fucking wear Supreme.
Oh. I'm just imagining a cloud giant Supreme shirt, just like full on mewing on a storm giant. Oh, it's like, did you predict like, this?
There's like fun stuff with cloud giants where it's like cloud giants like giving each other gifts, but the idea is not out of like, oh, I'm being generous. The idea is they're trying to flex. So it's like a thing of, yeah, I got you this watch. It's all right if I like part with it, because I have like way better shit besides this. You look like you could use it. Specifically, like, so, and it's like a thing of like,
I have one too many Bentleys. I'm gonna give you one because you don't have any.
Where's your
I don't have one Bentley.
Yeah. That just sounds like the mean girl stereotype of just like, oh, that color really looks good on you.
They're sassy little bitches, and they love gambling too.
Man, it's really sad. I don't like having a friend who can't afford a Bentley, so I'm just gonna give you one.
I'm just gonna give you one because that's just, I'm generous like that, and it's easy for me to part with this.
Yeah.
So,
look at Grogbar over there. Can't even afford to get the beanstalks trimmed out of his yard.
But they're also like petty bitches, because they're very much the type to give somebody like a white elephant kind of gift. Like it's like the thing of, I'm gonna give you something that you have to deal with now, and if you turn it down, you're gonna look like a bitch.
What if he just gives him a family of 4, just like villagers that he just grabbed out of somewhere?
Look, here's the diet I have them on. Here's the giant that grows the fruit that I feed them. If you put them on anything else, they're gonna get sick. It's like,
little Jeff's on paleo. I really hope you can accommodate that.
Yeah, this guy puts butter in his coffee. You're gonna go to this village for that.
And it's fun. It's fun. I like this. These are like the things that I like about Cloud Giants because I can already picture situations where it's like if a party encountered one of these guys, or like just giants in general, like a lot of them have their own like little quirks to their little specific societies where
Yeah.
they have their own little cultural kind of things going on.
The quirky
And
little guys.
they have fun quirky things, and these are also like things that their society thinks are awesome because it's like, oh yeah,
They're Mog.
it's like, yeah, I wouldn't be like petty like a Cloud Giant, but it's really Mog that it's really Maat that he's doing that. It's really fucking it's fucking awesome that he does that. And that's also like a thing of like giants might look at smaller people that act like them and they're like, that's so cute. You're like a little me.
See,
I want
every
you to
time
have
you say that,
a little version of me.
Yeah.
And then one of the Cloud Giants is just like, I'll just give it to him. Do you want this?
This is also a thing of oh, go ahead.
it's just every time you say that, they like, oh, it's like a little me. I just imagine like when David took out Goliath with a rock. They're like, oh wait, he threw that rock so good though.
Ooh, that was kind of mod. Yo.
God, he can throw some
That's
rocks.
true because they would probably look at shit like it's like the idea of
Yeah, because
Yo,
Goliath
kind of Mog.
had like 4 brothers, so all 4 of his brothers just comes like, look, we really don't care. We were just like hired by these guys. You want to go? I don't know, get some lamb or something, man.
Goliath had brothers?
Yeah, Goliath had 4 brothers or something like that. Like some biblical scholars theorize that he had like 4 of them, and like David spent like a good chunk the rest of his youth hunting them down with the rest of the Israeli army.
Turned into a giant hunter? That's ridiculous. Because Goliath was just like enormously deformed inbred, right? They lugged him around. He wasn't super powerful. He was like the mascot of that army. They were like, look, we got a giant, we win. We win.
Right.
He went, huh? And he was just like, I can see that soft spot a mile away.
All right, imagine that just became like a sport. You just like
Hunting. Go ahead.
No.
It's hunting them.
No, I mean like just like in general, like if you go to another country and kill like their national animal, that's like a huge crime. So it would be just a huge flex on them. So the Philistine army's like, oh god, we can't be the Philistine Giants anymore.
I love that guy.
I'm gonna change our mascot, man. All the flags.
We spent so many Dracules on branding.
Now we have to. That's a good reference. Like now we have to teach everyone a different chant. They're all inbred, so it's gonna be hard. You win.
You know how hard it is to find a giant these days? They even get rid of all the bones, so future generations can't find them. Ugh.
It's like, look, I just learned how to shoot wolves with what is basically my gun. I'm sorry. You've heard those things like crack wind.
Oh, yeah.
Breaking the speed of sound. That's
I
a
remember
bullet.
hearing there is this is also makes me think of like another thing, but there is a thing of I saw something funny where certain armies that had like that like little the rock I forget what the fuck you call it, like a rock
sling. Just a sling, I think. Yeah.
With like they would have a sling
shot,
and
just
like
sling.
the specific ammunition that they would use for their slings would sometimes have like little like quips on them. Like it's like it would have like stuff written on them to the equivalent of just like ouch or something like that, or like haha, it was me that got you, and it's like their name or some shit like that.
When you put a decal on a bomb.
Yeah.
And it's like it's funny because I think there's a thing where in one of the books they show like the specific rocks that every giant throws, and some of them have like their own like distinct kind of things on them. I like the idea of just like, oh yeah, like I could picture stone giants having like really excellently crafted rocks with just stupid. It's my fun throwing rock.
Yeah. You actually awaken a memory that, so one of the things they actually theorize, a weird thing David did is he picked up 5 rocks but took out Goliath with 1. So most people say the other, since he got 5 rocks, he just basically had 4 more, and he's just looking at all of his brothers like, all right, who's next?
It's such a specific detail. It's just like, oh, well, he picked up 5. They wrote that down for a reason. David's like, nah, dude, I just had big fingers. I was like, yeah.
I had just
picked
enough
out 5
space in
rocks
my
and I picked
bag
one
for
that looked
like
nice.
2 loaves of bread, a whole sheep, and some rocks.
Like they were burning a hole in my pocket. I had to go kill Titans. That's just what I had to do.
Yep. I just kind of like just left them rocks there. I didn't even think about it after that. But yeah, that's Chuck's biblical trivia for today. Go ahead, Mario. Go back to the actual Giants.
I want to picture David like leveled up with 2 slings, and they're like articulating. Like,
What are you gonna do now, huh?
lays on his ass and does like 4 of them. It's like I'm basically a shotgun
His
right now.
toes with slings on each leg.
That's awesome.
God dang it!
Don't come near me. I'll kill you.
I'll kill you.
I'm gonna sling a rock at you, boy. Then I'm gonna go see my lovely wife, Bathsheba.
I hope she be taking a bath.
Is
She's
that-
stinky.
I'm pretty sure that's where our word for bath comes from, since I was the one he saw taking a bath, and he's like, mine.
That's right. I forgot that David was King David.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
David, the boy who slayed the
guy.
giant, lived on to have many adulterous relationships.
Didn't he also end up in like a lion pit? Is that the same guy?
No, that's Daniel.
Ah, Daniel. Sorry, Danny.
Sorry to slander you, bro.
Sorry, man. I don't mean to misrepresent you.
Yeah, that
Didn't
was a little
misrepresent,
mock me.
you
I'm
like-
sorry. I'll own
Yeah.
that.
Fucking
Yeah, me and Logan are just doing whatever, and you have actual giant
Oh, no,
facts.
Yeah. I think something that's fun to me too that I want to play more into sometimes is
Like in the
giants.
Bible. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Giants have like a lot of elemental kind of stuff going on with them.
They're little avatars, yeah.
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 It's also
I
why I like
kinda
making
did a-
giant druids, because it feels like a really natural transition.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
It's
a
like-
fun use of giant animals that really don't get much use to me in D&D. Like saying when a giant transforms, like if it transforms into a monkey, it just becomes like the giant ape stat block.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Just giant variants of stuff. That'd be really scary to be like fighting a giant ape and it just turns into a giant guy and you're like, don't
yeah.
do that.
I remember having my party fight like a group of like druidic lycanthropes, and it was this thing where it's like a frost giant shows up and they're like, "Oh my god, a frost giant!" And then he starts like growing fur all over himself and he turns into a fucking werewolf, and it's like, "Holy shit, it's a werewolf frost giant!"
That's weird. Turn 360 degrees and walk away.
Yeah, that's it's not good.
Bless you.
Blessings.
That's some God of War stuff right there.
Yeah.
That's I always like that elemental connection because it kind of, in a funny way, because I think of like the thing of like dragons and giants hate each other. They both have that elemental kind of connection to them as well.
Yeah.
So it's this thing of like in my setting, a thing that I ended up playing with that, a thing that I did to play with that was kind of my thought was a long time ago in the material plane, a handful of genies showed up. Like it was more like elementals that suddenly became sentient. Or like in entering like the material plane, it's like they started to like become a bit more sentient and less just like I am a being of fire or something. And it's like the idea of like, oh yeah, like basically an Ifrit and like other things like formed, and they just decided to like go, man, this place is kind of different from where we're usually from. This is kind of neat. And it's like they see like other animals and things, and they just decide, let's make stuff, and they like make dragons and giants and shit, and it just becomes like it becomes a thing where it's like they just leave it as is, and these things end up forming like their own cultures and like things apart from like the genies not really knowing what the fuck they were.
Marids would play like an integral role in like the creation of life. If a couple of genies were just hanging out and the Marid's like, yo, I got water, that makes shit move. Let's play with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
That first time match was just a one-up game of just like, yeah, my guy's a really good artist. Well, my guy's also an artist, but with metal. He's really good with metal. It's like
there's a
okay, and
there's a running theme in my
He's got a really nice tan complexion.
Oh shit, that's pretty Maat.
God, my guy's just great. Dang.
That's pretty Maat.
What were you gonna say, Matt?
That's pretty Maat.
Sure.
Well, I like there's a running thing in my setting where it's just like a lot of creatures end up just basically going, I like this thing, but I'm gonna make it like me, and that'll make it better. And it's like a thing of my idea would just be like genies enter material plane, they see humans basically, and they're like, that would probably be what they base themselves off of, where it's just like these elemental things start to like kind of make themselves more like humans that have their own culture and stuff, and like try to like ape them, and then it's like, these things are neat, but what if I made them better? And it's just they fucking make like giants. It's like
That's cool. That's really
and
cool.
then it's like this thing of going from there. It's like the giants themselves would eventually look at humans and want to like use humans for their own purposes, and like a thing that evolves out of that is just like, these things are pretty cool, but what if we made them better and they fucking make dwarves? And it's like
That's great. Just like people who are like, I like niche versions of a human, and that's literally what people did to make dwarves and giants and stuff.
You haven't heard of my creation. It's very obscure.
Yeah, adjusts glasses. In my world, the current one that I'm running, giants sort of have kind of a niche. It's an open-ended role where each of these individuals, I'm probably just going to have one of each type of giant in the realm, and they have all just lived so long in their like areas, like one in the tundra, one in the hills, one in the mountains. They've lost track of what the ordning even could have been because they've been around for so long. They're like, I forgot what I believe in. So some of them start to indulge, some of them start to question. Like the stone giant would just be the epitome of stone giants. Just like, look, I make crazy, crazy art underground. No one even knows I'm here. And the storm giant that I have, who essentially is at the top of the ordning. I think I've mentioned this before. I'm not sure if I mentioned it on this podcast or this show, where it like lived on the other end of a mountain, and then there was a civil war that kind of woke it up, and it was like, okay, let me go check it out. And as it kind of ventured, it saw the people there, and they were rejoicing and like being together, and it's like, I don't get this. I don't get anything. I don't understand. So it's so disconnected that it's like, I think whatever I want to be right is right. That might make me God. I haven't seen anything stronger than me since. So this town is mine. I'm pretty sure. Like kind of doubting itself, but gaining that confidence slowly. And it's like just it sits on top of their church, just caved it in. And it's like, fight me.
yeah, it's like,
and no one can.
Like
so it's like,
what I do.
I win. And the other ones are probably just roaming around doing whatever. It's one of like that storm giant is one of the strongest entities active in the world. And it's just sitting in the middle of this town, cutting down exports, drinking all the wine, just like, I have no direction, but I'm definitely God. Everyone's just like,
all figured out.
Fuck you. Yeah, you're kind of an ass.
It's like I have a thing in my setting too, where it's just like post all time that is changed. There are certain ordering ideas that have been kept, but there's also like for example, hill giants are just super out of the loop. They don't even know what the fuck is going on. Like they don't really give a fuck. Yeah, which is I kind of like that in the sense of like hill giants just kind of vibe. They're just kind of ignorant, don't really know much about anything, and it's more of a thing of like, if another giant that's above them in the ordning showed up, they would probably listen to it out of just the fact that, well, he's bigger and scarier than us, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's kind of what they are. I like that.
And tall.
And in a funny way, they still keep that like Mott and Mog idea where it's like there's like fewer giants because obviously it's more difficult to sustain giants, but it's a thing of just ogres have basically like attached themselves to them in the sense of like, well, we have a really like if things get real bad, we have a really big guy that can like deal with something, and we just keep him happy. So we just like make sure that he's like well fed and like
it just is Goliath. That's what he was.
It's just
Back
it's
to the
like
Bible.
so
Let's
it's like
go.
yeah. So it's just straight up like they'll just have like hill giants like all like they just kind of lounge around and they just keep them like well fed and like just entertain them and they just have a bunch of other little fat guys compared to them. They're like just doing stuff for them. And,
My favorite thing about hill giants is they don't know anything and they will not
Yeah.
learn, but they collect curios, not to learn from them, but because they're curios. So
Yeah.
my favorite, it's the most unique thing about them, and it's not really explored very much. How they'll just have a little bird cage with like a gnome who knows the entire dictionary. He's like, "What that?" And it'll just like it'll be like, "Well, it's this and this and this and this." And he's like,
bird, my sir.
"Can me crush? Can me eat?" He's like, "I don't like you."
And it makes sense because it's just
What make some like big treasure chests that you have to fight?
yeah. It's like I don't know. I remember having and I had a conversation with somebody where they were just like, "Oh, do you really think every hill giant should be dumb?" And it's like, well, not necessarily, but like a lot of them are like, a lot of them don't really. It's not like there's going to be a hill giant that's getting a big education or something like that. They just kind of do whatever the fuck they want because nobody around them can really stop them, and they're not like usually they're just kind of like big babies in that sense, where it's just like they don't learn much, and
There's not really a giant college.
It makes me think of the History Men from Mad Max. If you guys have seen the recent movie,
No, I haven't yet.
Furiosa.
No.
It's just historians who chronicle all events and who did read books before the fall of the world. So it's like these old people who are covered in text and they just know everything about everything. So there's like this idiot king who's like, "Yo, spin me a word burger. What is that?" And he'll be like, "Well, it's like he's read like a car manual and he tells you like the miles per gallon of a car and just spits out all this dumb shit." And the guy who's listening to him just,
I don't know what it means.
yeah. And the guy who's listening is like, "Cool. Yeah, thanks. Thank you."
it's like a
Yes,
thing
I'll
of
know that.
I don't know what you just said, and he also doesn't know what he just said, but that's enough for me. So
I mean,
Yeah, I like that. I think that's kind of a cool, almost a dynamic you can have with hill giants, where they're curious but
Yeah.
not enough.
Well, it's like because the idea that I always had with them is like the ogres in my setting aren't dumb. Like the ogres, if anything, are like more like they have to be a bit smarter. And if anything, there's like a thing of like, yeah, they tend to be kind of brutish, and like they also like there's a level to them where they're influenced by like the Warhammer Fantasy ogres in the sense of like they're big fat guys, but that's kind of what they're supposed to be. Like there's kind of like a funny thing of in the main area that the players are at, they have ogre slaves sometimes, and the slaves are like they're big buff dudes that are like pretty well fed, but they're not like ogre diet kind of fed. So it's like a thing of like they look massive and like bulky, but they're not big and chunky. And like the idea would just be like if one of these guys came in contact with like one of the other ogres that like lives their normal life, that other ogre would kick his ass because he's like they're supposed to be big and fat.
Yeah.
They're kind of meant to be like just this massive fucking
kind of
tank.
glam muscle, if
And
you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like a thing of it's a thing where these guys are also kind of smart because they manipulate the hill giants, where it's just like it's like a thing of like they know how to basically pitch things to them in order to make them work for them, where it's like if we do this thing, something really cool is gonna happen. And he's like, okay. But, yeah.
I've already kind of described how giants go in my setting in an earlier episode, but I'd say we're getting to the point where now we got to ask the $1 million question. What would you rate the giants out of 5?
I'm gonna give them a 3.
3?
I
I'm
think
giving them a 4.
they're diverse enough. They have a lot of potential. The one thing that we didn't touch on that would bring them much closer to a 4 for me is that comparative scale. Like, we have never seen giants in our lives, but if you were a person and you saw a 12-foot tall, 24-foot tall guy, that is a world-shattering experience.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely upper 3, but maybe not quite
This
a 4
is
for me. Just because
this
the
is the
ordering
thing
kind of
where
throws a wrench in their diversity. Go ahead.
I love being able to do art for my game because a lot of times when I have giants, I will have a thing of like, okay, this is them on the board. This is me drawing your character right next to the giant. You are like
Yeah.
at his fucking knees, dude.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that scale's important to really drive home. That's why, honestly, using figures is good versus theater to mind because it really kind of drives home that
And on
idea.
top of that, it's like I try to describe like when there's a giant, they they're big, like obviously, but it's like a thing of like when my players have fought giants, it's been in situations where it's like I had a fucking, not to derail shit too far and like make us extend too far out, but one of my favorite points in my campaign was the players were stuck in a city that got like fucking like all the people, like most of the people got pushed out, everyone like ran off, and there's basically like a giant and some goblinoid army and ogres and stuff like holding down the place, and the players are basically trying to like get them out of there. So their goal is like to attack the giant. And there's a point where they had like 3 hill giants there. One like a super big hill giant, and then like 2 like kind of monitoring the place. And there is this point where the players encountered a hill giant, and he was literally like crushing some of the buildings by accident. It's like a thing of like, it was like moments where he starts walking, and I'm like, give me dexterity saves because rubble is like coming down on you
I like
guys as
that.
he's like moving through the street. He's gonna like it's a thing of somebody makes him fall over, or somebody like knocks him prone with a spell or something, and it's like, as this is happening, give me a con save because you're going to feel the fucking ground just suddenly like slam up into your body. Like it's like this fucking. It is. There is a building that is basically just fucking crashing right next to you.
Yeah.
Um, giving that sense of weight and everything is really important in my opinion.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you
Chuck,
want
what's
to
your
definitely
rating?
take full advantage of that size, whether it is picking up a boulder and throwing, or even picking up a player and throwing them.
Yeah, because like
Yes,
comparatively,
yes,
your hand is like the size of their thumb.
Mm.
yes.
Just thinking about that is scary.
Yeah.
It's like the scariest shit was like, it's a point where it's like the hill giant has these many attacks. It's just like he's gonna grapple, he's gonna grab an NPC, and he's just gonna pick him up and just go like, it's like this fucking big giant toddler man just looks down. He's like, oh, and he like
That's so
grabs you,
scary.
and he just flicks you, and he throws you at the nearest person, and I just like roll the rock damage on both of them as they fucking collide. It's
Insert bowling pin noise.
Oh no.
All right. Me, I'm same as Mario. I'm going to say a 4. I just think they're a lot of
Okay.
fun, and well, what you can do with them, and just. But they have to me they have a lot of fun potential. I just like the idea of them. I kind of like big elemental creatures like that, and I've just had a lot of fun making them a setting, and also just the influence they have on like the overall world and setting, like furbolgs, ogres,
Mhm.
Goliaths all being playable races and stuff like that. It's cool things. I like it.
Yeah.
I like giants. I really do. I feel kinship with them because I am a tall man. Yay.
Yeah.
Says you.
You're taller.
Look, I got frickin' Nordic shibbed on my arm, and that makes me tall.
He has giant runes on him.
I got Legend
Oh,
of
no.
Zelda and Sukuna. It makes it to where I have problems spending
That's-
money.
That's so Maat, man. That's so Maat of you.
That's mod as fuck, dude.
It's Maat as fuck.
All right. That was fun. See y'all next time.
Yeah.
Bye.